Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another video in which we are going to learn about list in Python programming. So guys, a list is a collection of similar or different types of data. So for example, suppose we need to record the age of 5 students. So instead of creating 5 separate variables, we can simply create a list. So as you can see, this is the way that we create the list. First of all, on the left hand side, we have the variable name, and then on the right hand side, inside the open and close square brackets, we have the list of elements which are separated using the commas. So I'll just copy this line of code over here, and then let us move to the VS Code and paste this. So as you can see, on the left hand side, it is the variable name of the list, and on the right hand side, we have the age of all the students over here, and simply we can print the list by using the print function. After this, we can provide the variable name, that is list. So let me just save this file and try running this code now. As you can see, we are getting the list of all the elements in the sequence that we had provided over here. It is very important that all these elements are separated using the commas over here. Now guys, the list can have the same kind of elements, that is, this one is having the list of integers data type only, but we can also have the string as well in between. So let's say we have a string called John over here in between this list of elements. So this is also possible. It will not throw any error while we are running this code. So let me just save this file and try running this code now. As you can see, we are getting the list of all the values 17, 18, and then we are getting John, and then 19, and then 14. So this is a kind of a heterogeneous list, whereas when we have the same kind of data type in the list, then it is called the homogeneous list. Now how do we access the Python list element? So basically this is one way in order to access the list, but what if we want to access only a single element? By using this print statement, we have accessed all the elements over here, but in case we want to access a particular element from this list, then what we can do is, in Python, each item in a list is associated with a number. So the number is known as a list index. So basically all these numbers, that is the elements of the list that are present inside the list, so these are associated with the indices which starts from 0. So the 17 number is at the 0th index, 18 number is at the first index, and so on. This is at the second index, third index, and then so on. So basically these elements can be accessed using these indices. So as you can see, we can access elements of an array using the index number. Now how do we access them? So what we can do is, we simply come over here. I'll simply change this to the number 15 that was there previously, and what we have to do is, let's say I want to access this element, that is the fourth element. So what will be the index? So this is 0th index, then we have 1, and then 2, and then 3. So this is the third index. So we can access by using the variable name followed by open and close square brackets, and inside those brackets we have to provide the index number, that is 3 in this case, which represents this number, that is 19. So let me just save this file and try running this code now. As you can see, we are just getting 19 over here. Previously we were getting the entire list when we don't provide this index number. I'll save this file. So as you can see, all the values are getting printed, but when we provide the index number, let's say I want to print 18 this time, which is at the index 1 after this index which is 0. So I provide list of 1 over here, save this file and run this code. So as you can see, 18 is getting displayed, and this is how it is one way in order to access a particular single element inside this list by using the index number. Now it is also possible that we provide the negative index in Python. So Python allows negative indexing for its sequences. The index of -1 refers to the last item, -2 to the second last item, and so on. So for now we know that the 0th index is the first element over here, and then the first index is the second element. But what about the last element? Let's say we don't know the length of the list, like how many elements are present inside the list, and we want to get the last element over here. So since the first element is at the 0th index, the previous index, that is before 0, which is -1, it will point to the last index of this list, that is 14 over here. So what if we simply do list of -1 in this case? So I'll just provide -1 in this case. Let me just save this file and try running this code. As you can see, we are getting 14. So basically the -1 index will point to the last element of the list in this case. Let's say we want to get the second last element. So in this case, we will simply provide -2. So after -1, we are having -2, which will be the previous element of the last element. So let me just save this file and try running this code now. So as you can see, 19 is getting displayed now. And this is the way that we can also use the negative indexing as far as accessing the last elements of the list are concerned. Now there is another concept of slicing in Python list. So in Python, it is possible to access a section of items from the list using the slicing operator, which is nothing but a colon, not just a single item. So let's say we want to access the second and third elements inside the list. So we have to use the slicing operator in this case. Now what is the slicing operator? While providing the indices inside the open and close brackets, we have to provide the indices and separate them using the colon. So what is the index of the second element? It is 1 over here. Since the first element is having the 0th index, we don't want that. We want to start from the first index, and then we also want the second index. So this time we have to provide the next number that is at the third index now. So after this 1, that is the first index, we have to provide colon, and then we provide 3 over here. So 3 is not included in this case. Please remember that whenever you are providing the ending index, that element will not be included whenever you are using the slicing operator over here. So the elements that will be considered in this case will be at the index 1 and at the index 2, which means 18 and 15. So let me just save this file and try running this code now. As you can see, we are getting 18 and 15 only. Let's say you want to get all the elements starting from this 18. So this index is 18 right now, and there is no end index that you want to specify over here. So we simply have to remove this 3, and then we can simply specify 1 followed by the colon. So this will make Python interpreter to consider all the elements after the first element, including the first element itself. So let me just save this file now and try running this code. So as you can see, we are getting all the elements, that is 18, 15, 19 and 14, starting from the first index over here. So guys, this is the way that we can use slicing in the Python list. Also, in order to consider all the list elements over here, we need not have to specify any of the indices. If we simply provide the colon over here, all the elements will be considered. Let me just save this file and try running this code now. So as you can see, all the elements are getting considered, but this thing is kind of a redundant over here. That's because if we simply provide the variable name, that is list, still all the elements will be considered. So if we run this code once again, so all the elements are being considered over here. Only when you want to consider the subset of this list, you have to use the slicing inside the Python list. Now let us move to the next concept. How do we add the elements to a Python list? So there are two ways to add the elements in the Python list. The first way is to use the append function, which will help us in order to add a single item in the list. And the second way is to use the extend function in order to add another list to the already existing list. So let us check this with the help of examples now over here. Let's say we already have this list of values inside the list variable, and now we want to add more elements. So what we will do is we will say list followed by dot, and then we have something called as append. So this is a function which will take a single element and it will add to the end of this list. So let's say I want to provide 25 as the age of another student. So let me just save this file now and try running this code. So as you can see, this element that is 25, it is already added at the end of the list now, and in this way we can use the append function to add more elements inside the list. Now let's say we have another list over here. Let's say I provide a list 1 and the numbers I provide is 1, 2, 3 over here. So 3 elements are there, and we want to add all these elements to the original list, that is list variable. So what we can do is we can use the extend function in this case. So we have to use this list variable, which is the original list variable, followed by dot, and then we have the extend function, and inside the parenthesis we have to provide this argument, that is list1, which is another variable having the list of elements. And now if we print this list, it will have the updated list of values. So let me just save this file and try running this code now. So as you can see, after this 14, 1, 2, 3 elements are also getting added over here, since we have used the extend function in this case. Let us move to another section. Can we change the list items? So basically the Python lists are mutable, meaning lists are changeable, and we can change items of a list by assigning new values using equal to operator. So what I will do over here is I'll just remove these lines of code. So I'll simply provide the original list over here. So we will say original list followed by colon, and then we will print the list. So let me just save this file and try running this code now. we have the original list over here. I'll just spell this correctly. So we have the original list 17, 18, 15, 19 and then 14. Now let's say at the third position, that is 15, we want to change this element to 10. Now this is being referred to the second index over here. So this is 0th index, then 1 and then second index. So what we have to do is simply we have to provide list followed by, inside the square brackets we will provide the index number, that is 2, and then equal to the new value, that is 10, that we want to replace it with. And then again what we will do is I'll simply copy this line of code and paste this over here, and then we will say updated list. And let me just save this file now and try running this code. So basically, as you can see, original list, it is having 15 at the third position over here, that is at the second index, and the updated list is having the number 10 at the same second index over here. And this is the way that we can update the list elements. So since Python lists are mutable, we can change the elements of the list as well. Now removing an element from the list, so there are two ways. Either we can use the del function or else we can use the remove function as well. So let's say over here we have the original list now. So I'll just remove these lines of code, and then we can use the del function and then followed by list, and let's say I want to remove this fourth element, that is at the index 3, which is 19. So I'll just provide list of 3 in this case, and then what I will do is I will print the updated list once again. So I'll just change this to updated list. So basically we are using the del method over here and deleting the third index inside this list. So let me just save this file and try running this code now. So as you can see, we are getting the updated list as 17, 18, 15 and 14. This element, that is 19, it was removed already. Now instead of this, we can also use the remove method. So in that case, we have to use the variable name first. In the del method, that is the delete method, we simply used the function name and provided the element from the list in order to remove from that list. But over here, we have to provide the variable name followed by dot, and then we can simply use the remove function and then followed by the position. So which position we want to remove? So let's say I want to remove this element, that is 18 over here. So in this case, we have to provide the value of the element that is present inside the list. So in this case, we provide 18. In the previous example that we have taken using the del method, we used the index number of the element that is present inside the list, but in this case we have to use the value in order to remove it. So I'll just save this file and try running this code now. As you can see, 18 was present in the original list, but in the updated list we don't have 18. It is 17, 15, 19 and 14, and in this way we can remove the elements from the list as well. Now very important operation, how do we iterate through a list? So basically we can use the for loop to iterate over the elements of a list. So till now what we have seen is we have just used the list, that is the variable name, in order to print the elements of those lists. Now if you notice, we are getting the square brackets over here, open and close square brackets, within which all the elements are getting printed. But let's say we don't want those square brackets and one by one we want to print all the elements at a time. So what we can simply do is use the for loop, and we have seen in the previous videos as well the syntax of the for loop. We have to use the for keyword followed by, let's say, a temporary variable name, that is item, followed by the in keyword, and then we have to provide the sequence, that is list, and then after that we have the colon, and then we can have the print statement over here. Now in the print statement, if we only provide one item, that is item in this case, so every time all the elements will be printed on the separate lines over here. So let us just try this code. So we'll just save this file and try running this code now. As you can see, 17, 18, 15, 19, 14, all the elements are getting printed on the separate lines. What if we want all the elements to be present on the same line? So what we can do is, after providing comma over here, we have the end parameter inside the print function, and this end parameter we can have the comma as the character by which we can separate all the elements. So by default this is /n character, which means the next element will be printed on the next line, but if we specify this in this way, all the elements will be printed on the same line. So let me just save this file now and try running this code. So as you can see, all the elements are getting printed on the same line in the same sequence that is present inside this list. So in this way we can iterate through all the elements inside the list that are present by using the for loop over here. Now another important thing, how do we find the list? So we have something called as Python list length. So in Python we use the len function to find the number of elements present in a list. So we can have any number of elements inside the list over here. So there is no limit on the number of elements that we are supposed to have inside the Python list. So in case if we want to find the number of elements inside the list, we can simply use the length function. So we can simply print this, and then we can have len, which is a function, and then we can provide the variable name of the list inside this len function over here. So it will return us the count of the elements inside the list. So let me just save this file and try running this code now. As you can see, 5, that is the count of the number of elements inside the list, is present over here. If we provide some more elements over here, let's say I have provided 5 more elements inside the list. Let me just save this file now and try running this code. So we are getting the updated count, that is 10. So 10 is the number of elements that are present inside the list, and that is how we can easily find the length of the list in this case by using the len function over here. So guys, these were certain operations as far as list variable is concerned. Please make sure that you practice on your own, and as a homework for you, there is something called as a sort function which can help you in order to sort all the elements inside the list. So you can practice on your own as a homework for you in order to sort the elements inside the Python list and print on your own. Make sure that you comment in the comment section below what your code looks like as far as sorting the list of elements is concerned. Please make sure that you like this video so that it reaches to more people, and subscribe to the channel so that you get the notifications on upcoming videos as well. The next video that we are going to talk about is a tuple in Python programming. So stay tuned.